Now, for those of you who don't know this, it's around 5 days until we can start operating tours again. Wales is always a popular destination for day trips and holidays, and I'm sure it will feature in a lot of our programs. Next slide, please. I call it the land of opportunities because there is so much to see and do there. In North Wales, we've got the lake and mountain scenery. I mean, who needs to go to Austria? We've got the traditional seaside resorts, Llandudno, Prestatyn, Tenby, Saundersfoot, Aberystwyth. You just keep going with them, don't you? Amazing beaches and great sights. You've got exciting cities like Cardiff, Swansea, and St David's. Well, St David's isn't probably exciting, but it is known as the smallest city in the UK, isn't it? And then we've got history and culture. We've got the great castles, Carnarvon, Conwy, Harlech, Pembroke. And all of this is without leaving our shores, really. So we don't have the potential problems that we've got taking coaches to Europe at the moment. And for most of us, we will use considerably less fuel, by the way, because Wales is quite reachable from most UK cities. Now, I'm pretty convinced that 2021 is going to be a great year for tours to Wales. And I'm hoping that today's presentation will help us give all that a kick start.
How
now,
mad is that? They can get on with.
If I can just ask anybody of you to ask questions at the end of the session, and please stay on mute while we're making the presentations. And now I'm going to hand over to Claire. Thank you.
Borodar, good morning, everybody. I'm hoping that you can you see my screen now? Yeah, great. Okay. So it's lovely to see so many people this morning, especially so many familiar faces. Great to see you all. Some of you may have joined our presentation a couple of weeks ago as part of the CTA CPT Road to Recovery Zoom. But it's really great now that it's less than a week to go to May the 17th to have a full Wales session and to be joined by some of our leading attractions. And you'll be hearing today, as well as myself, from my colleague Judith, from Siúna Williams in Cadw, from Jenny Walford in Amgueddfa, Cymru, National Museum Wales, Laura Smart and Luke Potter from the National Trust in Wales. We know just how hard operators have worked to make your operations safe and how much your customers must be longing to get back travelling. And we really can't wait to give you all a really warm Welsh welcome. Croeso. Throughout the pandemic, we've been working together with the industry, taking a troubleshooting collaborative approach really to any issues that have arisen. And this year, as well as becoming partners with the Coach Tourism Association, we're working closely together, also with other associations and across the public and private sector in Wales to get things up and running safely for coach groups and the travel trade. So over the course of this morning's session, we're hoping to clarify the position on Wales guidance and give you a good idea of what to expect now that things are reopening, and to finish with some tips on how Visit Wales can help you and what's coming up. So we'll get the guidance bit done at the outset. The thing that's important to remember is that when in Wales, the position in Wales applies to everyone. So whether you're an operator crossing the border from England or further afield, or one based in Wales, you and your customers need to be familiar and adhere to the Wales regulations and guidance. By the same token, when in Wales, you and your customers get to experience our unique culture, our heritage, including some Roman sites and landscapes, and to be somewhere really quite different without having to travel too far. So there are a number of key factors that determine whether trips can run in Wales. The first is travel restrictions, and currently, as long as you're travelling to or from a country within the UK or wider common travel area, there aren't travel restrictions. The second thing is the guidance on transport, and in Wales, coach operations are defined as public transport, so the guidance for public transport applies. And obviously restrictions on what businesses are able to open have a bearing. And then once off the vehicle, any rules on gatherings apply, and I'll go into that in a bit of detail. And once in any business, rules such as for hospitality dictate how the group is treated. So in terms of what you can do in Wales, quite a lot of our businesses are already open outdoors, and day trips to outdoor attractions and retail are already possible. After the 17th of May, as in England, it's when we're expecting, all being well, serviced accommodation, indoor hospitality and attractions to be able to reopen, and multi-day trips to start again. Obviously all within the Wales regulations and guidance. And we're expecting that will be confirmed by our First Minister on Friday, along with hopefully announcements around future relaxations. So within the overall guidance for tourism and hospitality businesses, you'll find detail on all the relevant Wales guidance and links to the regulations, in particular on social distancing, face coverings, our test, trace, protect approach, and how you need to keep records. And as mentioned, it's the guidance for public transport operators, which has been recently updated, which you must follow. The presentation will be made available afterwards on the CTA website for you to review it. So you'll be able to access all of these links. And I think it's just important to bear in mind, you know, I can't tell you, the Welsh Government generally can't tell you whether you're able to operate. You know, you need to ensure that you're operating within the regulations and guidance that the Welsh Government is providing, and obviously do a specific COVID risk assessment to check in on all that. But in terms of when you're operating trips, and if you're operating something which comes under our regulations in Wales as organised activities. So once you're off the vehicle, if you've got a full risk assessment and a responsible person managing and leading the group, such as on a guided tour, then the limits currently are up to 30 outdoors and 15 indoors, but that's going up, as you can see, from Monday. If it's not an organised activity under those circumstances, and certain, you know, limitations do apply, so do check it out. But then, if not being organised like that, then household rules, or the rules of 6, which is what we're expecting it to be outdoors. And currently, it's set at 4 indoors, but we'll see, there may be some movement on that, hopefully. So we'll see from Monday how that looks. But those, you would need to break up the group. And we know that many attractions are simply treating everyone as individuals as soon as the coach arrives, and you'll hear more about that in a minute. For your customers, for them to be aware of what they need to do, the best thing to do is probably at the outset of your trip, remind your customers what the basics are that they need to do. And the Welsh Government website has got some very simple guides to what's the position at any given time, that's designed specifically for customers. And you know, if you're able to make that information available, I mean, the basics are very much as they are in England. You know, it's 2 meters social distancing, face masks in public spaces indoors, good hand hygiene, as well as remembering about the rules on gathering and mixing, and that's probably the most important thing, really, I think, to let people know. So guidance bit over. With all that in mind, we and our businesses are delighted to see tourism and hospitality in Wales reopening, and all have put things in place to make sure that everyone has a safe and enjoyable time. We're working with our national organisations, coach and tour operators, local authorities and attractions to gather information on what to expect, and also to try and achieve some consistency really across how coaching groups are handled. And I think, as you'll hear this morning, most are giving coach groups priority booking. As Robert said, great opportunity for Wales this year, and we are expecting Wales to be very popular, particularly over the summer. This slide is taken from sentiment research that we did in conjunction with the other visits. This dates back to February, so sort of a little while ago. But it's showing kind of intent really, and where people are thinking about going in Wales. And you'll see towards the bottom of the chart, it's showing that Pembrokeshire and Snowdonia are remaining the most popular destinations. This isn't specific to the travel trade, this is sort of general consumer sentiment. So if you've got flexibility within your programmes over the coming months, you might find that there are opportunities to perhaps take your clients to other parts of Wales that perhaps won't be quite so busy. And I think one important thing, we know how much people are liking the idea of going back to the coast particularly, and also enjoying rural areas. We've got coastal cities in Wales, we've got national parks and areas of outstanding natural beauty that are within easy reach of our urban areas. So, it's worth thinking about those for visits and trips. Before I hand over to our national attractions, here's just a selection of other attraction openings where we know that groups are welcome, but just a reminder really that you must pre-book. We're updating a reopening grid which will circulate afterwards and is available in future from us. So there's an email there. We know things will keep changing, hopefully going in the right direction. And my colleague Judith will also highlight how you can keep yourself updated generally with what's happening in Wales. So I'm now going to hand over to Shuna from cadw.
Morning. I was on mute, so I unmuted myself. Good morning, everyone. Hi, my name's Shuna Williams. I work for cadw. cadw is part of Welsh Government, and we're responsible for the historic environment of Wales. So for those who don't know much about cadw or anything about cadw, we have approximately 130 historic sites in our care or guardianship, and 24 of which are admission charging sites. They vary greatly from burial mounds, standing stones, pockets of Roman remains, industrial remains, and also, of course, the great castles of Edward I in North Wales. We've got 2 UNESCO World Heritage Sites in our care and guardianship, so it's quite a diverse portfolio of sites and attractions for you to visit. Last year, just before coronavirus hit us all and we all went into lockdown, cadw had launched an online booking system for the trade. It was terrible timing. We launched it in February 2020 and we all went into lockdown in March 2020. So although this seems quite an old booking system to me, because I've been working on it for well over a year in different ways, this is all still very new for the trade and very new for our customers. So I just wanted to go over our booking system again with yourselves for those new customers and those existing ones. So as I said, we call it CTOS, cadw's Tour Operator Scheme. It was originally aimed at group travel, but we've had to withdraw our Explorer Pass because of the need to pre-book. We couldn't guarantee we would be able to provide places on Explorer Passes. So we've withdrawn that product for now, and we've opened up the CTOS to FITs as well. So we've removed the need for bookings of 15 or more to qualify for additional discounts. We are allowing the additional discounts across all bookings to support the trade. Our standard discounts are 10% off our preferential trade rates, but again, to support the industry, up until March 2022, we've increased that discount to 20%. How do you get onto this scheme? It's very, very easy. Just contact cadw Commercial. Throughout this presentation, you'll have contact details for myself and the team. To register, we just need to capture a few details about your company and yourselves, and then we'll register you and send you some information on how to log on to the website and make your bookings. You can pre-book groups or FITs. We are asking at the moment that we have a minimum of 3 weeks notice for bookings, because we need to link in with our day ticket bookings and allocate the tickets for trade before we put them on sale to the general public. So we're giving the trade the first chance to have these allocation of tickets before they go on general sale. You'll be invoiced following your visits, and you'll be invoiced for the number of people who attend. The number of people you've booked, rather, we're unable to reduce numbers on arrival if not all of your group choose to visit for whatever reason. Group sizes are going to vary. Our sites have done extensive risk assessments and looked at their capacities, their safe systems of works, and how they can operate safely. So all of the sites have got capacity levels, and we need to work within those capacity levels. We've also introduced either hourly or half-hourly time slots for group bookings. And as I said, they must be pre-booked. We cannot accept walk-ups at all. If you don't want to sign up to CTOS, you can book day tickets through our day ticket platform, which I can forward details if anybody's interested in that, but you are limited on the number you can book. I think at the moment it's 6 tickets that can be booked. Also, I mean, I've mentioned that we have different time slots. Some of our sites are also closing over the lunchtime period. This is something very new for us. We're having to adapt the way we work. And the reason we're doing this is so that we can have some enhanced cleaning taking place during the lunch breaks. So whilst the site is closed for additional bookings, they won't be asking guests who are already, or visitors who are already at the sites, to leave. They are able to stay, but they will notice there's enhanced cleaning on touch points and toilets, etc. Just for everybody's safety. Also, some of the sites are not able to open 7 days a week at the moment. They're only going to be able to open 5 days a week. And the next slide will show you the details of those sites. Not all of our sites have been able to open as of yet. Some are still closed, but it's only a handful. It's not many, and we are working really hard to open up all of our sites as soon as we possibly can. So you can see a number of the sites closed are Rieg, Chapel, Oxwich, and Cullean Roman Fortress Baths. The amphitheatre is still open as it's an open-end staff site, but we have had to close the baths at the moment. A number of our sites are already open in outdoor areas only, but come the 17th of May, hopefully all the indoor areas will open as well. And we'll also be able to open Castell Coch and Plasmawr, as they're mostly indoor sites. There's still a question mark over Plasmawr, but Castell Coch will be opening. And Carnarvon Castle opening has been delayed, but this is mainly due to construction works that are going on there at the moment. Next slide, please. Okay, so as I've sort of mentioned on some of it, to enhance the visitor experience, there's a lot of work going on behind the scenes at cadw. We've introduced during lockdown a day ticket system. As I said, we'd already introduced the CTA system for trade, but we've also had to very quickly introduce a day ticketing system so that we can monitor and check and keep records of all of our visitors coming in. At the actual sites, they've introduced one-way systems, they've introduced enhanced cleaning, some of the touch point areas or interactive interpretation, we've had to remove some of that at the moment, but we're hoping to reinstate. Again, it depends on the enhanced cleaning systems that we have in place. So we're just trying to ensure that everything is as safe as possible for our visitors. We're also signed up for We're Good to Go. We've developed some virtual tours as well on our website. So for those who aren't able to make it to the sites or wish to research the sites before you go, there's a number of virtual visits that have been developed over lockdown and are on our website. There's also a new suite of itineraries and inspiration as well to help you planning your visits. We've got programs of conservation works, which were all they were all planned before the lockdowns. So Carnarvon is we've got the Kingsgate project at Carnarvon, which is a really exciting project. At Caerphilly Castle, the pathways have all been replaced in the inner ward. There's repairs to the roof at the Great Hall and the Inner East Gatehouse, and potentially a new visitor centre within the next couple of years. True Tower, Court and Castle has got the barns are being converted into a retail area, visitor centre and cafe area. So that's another really exciting project, which will be completed towards the end of this year. And Tintern Abbey have got some extensive conservation works on at the moment, stabilising some of the stonework there. We've got a number of property rentals within our portfolio. They are smaller, they are one-bed apartments or 1 or 2 bed cottages. So we've got 5 apartments at Harlech, cottages at Tintern, Whitecastle and True Tower, and Porthmawr in Carnarvon. We're in the process of developing 2 apartments there, which we anticipate they'll be ready for occupation mid-2022. So it's all really exciting works going on behind the scenes as well. It's not all negative, excuse me, in COVID. So that's a little summary of what cadw's been up to. We're really looking forward to welcoming the coach groups and reopening from the 17th of May. We will be smaller, we won't be able to take the numbers we've taken in the past, but we are working hard on ensuring that the capacities are going to be reviewed regularly, and potentially looking at maybe we'll extend the seasons and spread the visits, and that may be the way forward. If we can't have the larger scale visits, look at smaller groups and being spread throughout the seasons. So thank you very much. And I'll pass over to Jenny, I believe it is next.
Thanks, Una. Hello, everybody. I'm Jenny. I work for Amgueddfa National Museum Wales. We tend to use Amgueddfa, which is the Welsh word for museum. So if I say that, you'll know what I mean. I'll tell you about some of our sites, because I know a lot of people here will have been to St Fagans and possibly Cardiff, but there's we're a family of 7 museums, and I know we've got some little gems that some people may not know about. So currently open St Fagans, which is probably the most popular museum we have, and that consists of beautiful grounds. It's a 100-acre site, and we've rebuilt some iconic Welsh buildings that have taken them down stone by stone and rebuilt them in the grounds. So you can see an old church, you can see a schoolroom, you can see the old toll house. That they're all beautiful. Some of them are shut at the moment due to COVID because they are very small and we can't get the numbers in. But hopefully after next week we'll be able to open them again. There are also, for those who haven't been for a little while, some new buildings on there. Gwaith, which is a huge gallery with crafts in there, and a new cafe. Llyswelyn, which is an old medieval court. We haven't actually demolished that and rebuilt it. That's from new, based on archaeological findings, but it's very, very beautiful. So there's lots to see there. We've also got the National Slate Museum Llanberis open at the moment. That is right next to the railway station where you go up to Snowdonia. And that's set in the old Dinorwig quarry workshops. It's right in the shadow of the quarry because obviously slate was massive in that area. That is currently open outdoors, and again, hopefully the indoors will be open from next week. And some of the ones you may not know as well, National Waterfront Museum in Swansea. Just looking at Claire's slide, I saw that Swansea was way down on the list of places that people wanted to visit, and I can't imagine why, because it's got the Gower, which has got some of the beautiful beaches, and also like a 5-mile stretch of beach in Swansea itself. So it's a gorgeous place to go if you've not been. The Waterfront Museum itself looks at 300 years of industry in Wales, because it was once the heart of, I won't say the entire British Empire, but it was built on, a lot of places were built on coal. All the steamships ran on Welsh coal. So that's a really good place to go. It also has some of you will have heard of Stephenson's rocket. Well, actually, that wasn't the first railway engine. The first railway engine to run on Wales, the first steam engine to run on rails, was the Penydarren engine, and we've got a replica of that at the site, which runs every now and again. National Museum in Cardiff, I know a lot of you will know for its art. We've got the largest group of impressionist paintings outside Paris, and it also looks after our natural history collection. National Wool Museum, again, this is a really hidden little gem. It's in Carmarthenshire. So if you're taking a group down to Pembrokeshire or to Tenby, then it's not very far at all. That is set in an old woolen mill. So it's got some of the original machinery, and it's a really lovely little place to visit, lovely gardens, and our best cafe, I would say. It's looking to do some afternoon tea soon, so get along there. And Big Pit, you will have heard of, the National Coal Museum, very, very popular attraction. That's in Blaenavon, which is a World Heritage Site, and you can normally go underground. At the moment, we can't because of ventilation issues, but we are hoping to have that fixed very shortly. And as Shuna mentioned, the Cadw site in Caerleon, the Roman site, and just along from the open air sort of amphitheatre there, we have the National Roman Legion Museum. So the two together combined make a really, really nice trip. Again, as Shuna said, we've had to do things slightly differently. So we have changed our opening days. We're not open 7 days a week, which some of the museums were before COVID. Most of them are going to be open 5 days. Some of the smaller sites will only be open 3 or 4. So do check before coming along, because again, as you said, we can only take people who have actually booked. We will offer priority as cadw do. So if a coach wants to come, we will allocate those tickets first before we open them to the public. And we are hoping to reinstate, I think before COVID, visitors on a coach could enjoy sort of 10% off in the shop, and we would give the driver sort of food and drink, etc. So that will be reinstated. So I hope that will help you come along. And also just to say that all of these museums are free. So it's very nice to combine things. Say you go to the Royal Mint, which I know you have to pay for, but then, to help everyone's purses, come along to St Fagans, which is about 15 minutes away. So we've got all the attractions free. So they're really good things to combine with other visits. Can I have the next slide, please? Yeah, our current COVID position is, as Shane said, we are asking people to come as household groups. We don't have any tours running at the moment, so we're not accepting sort of, the 30 people gathering outside and 15 people inside at the moment. We will obviously be reviewing that as we go along. As I said, we can't do the underground tours at the moment, unfortunately, in Big Pit, but that is set to change very soon. Increased hygiene and one-way systems in some of our museums. The information is sort of on the website telling you what is and what isn't open. What's new for coach tours? Well, we're very behind cadw in this. I know they've got this lovely coach booking system. We are still, please ring up and we'll take your details. We are hoping to change that soon. So on the website, we've also started doing some itineraries, and that's looking at what is around each of our museums in terms of, what's not food and drink attractions. So like the, Penderyn Distillery, things like that. Swansea Market, where you can go and get fantastic Welsh cakes. So we've put some other attractions there. Again, they're going to be on the website, but we've also tried to link some of the specialisms together. So we're looking at itineraries, if you've got a coach of art lovers, then they might want to go, to Cardiff. But if you've got people who like industry, then we've got, 3 authentic museums which are housed in, a woolen mill and a coal mine and a slate workshop. So we do offer a really good authentic experience. Our ongoing development is the coach booking. We are hoping to get it to a place where you can book via Eventbrite at some stage. As I say, we're not there yet, but I know that will be so much easier for you, because at the moment, if you want to go to any of our museums, you have to pick up the phone to each individual museum, and that's not great for you and it's not great for us. So we are trying to streamline that and make it much easier for you to book. We've also got some more site maps in different languages. So if you're bringing international visitors, we haven't had, we've had Welsh and we've had English maps, but we haven't had any other information in other languages really. So we're implementing that this year. We are also, we're going to start, some of you may well have come along and had an introductory tour at some of our museums, but again, it's so hit and miss. I hate to say it, but you may go to the National Waterfront Museum and you get 20 minutes with a curator and that's free, but then you go to Cardiff and you have to pay and you get half an hour. So we're trying to streamline our offer so that you will know whichever museum you go to, you will be able to have an introductory tour, and you'll be able to have, afternoon tea or something like that. Which brings me on to our new products. We are trying to streamline that as well. So we offer you something more. So when you arrive, you get a tour and you get a tea, and that's something that you can offer to your customers as well. Can I have the next one, please? Thank you. This is just to, we were looking at the slides there about who's planning to go to what places. Swansea, as I say, I don't know why anybody doesn't want to go to Swansea. They've got a new digital arena just going up at the moment. I think it's set to open early next year. But if you've got coaches coming down to concerts, then there is a wealth of other things on the doorstep to do. So the National Waterfront Museum is, I'd say, 50 yards from the new digital arena, and also within, just around the corner, within about 500 yards walk, using old imperial measures, you've got the Dylan Thomas Centre, which has a beautiful exhibition dedicated to the writer who obviously was born in Swansea. And then there's also the Swansea Museum, which is the oldest museum in Wales and is one of those sort of Victorian relics with sort of, you know, ostrich bones, but an Egyptian mummy as well. It's really eclectic little mix. So there's loads of things to do in the Swansea area. Llanberis, where the National Slate Museum is based, has bid for UNESCO World Heritage status. That will be decided this year. And so that part of the world will be getting a lot of publicity, and hopefully we'll be bringing a lot more people to it. Next one, please. Thank you. This is just about, you know, just to tell you what we've got coming up in our museums at the moment, in case any of these are of interest. The National Museum Cardiff does a lot of temporary exhibitions, as well as having sort of the Impressionists and the natural history. We did open for about 2 weeks a lovely exhibition about Richard Burton, and then had to close again, but that will reopen when the museum reopens, touch wood, next week. The Rules of Art, we're looking at art differently. That's an exhibition that's going to run from October into next year. And as I say, it sort of takes the approach of, you know, so what is art? And tries to give you some kind of answers. Mining for mobiles, if you have a group that is interested in sustainability, that exhibition opens next year, and that's going to be all about, you know, the perils of mining when you're actually trying to dig all these very rare minerals out of the ground, because we all want to keep in touch on the move. That, I don't know very much about it at the moment, but it will be a really, really interesting one. And BBC Cymru Wales, BBC celebrates its 100th anniversary next year. So a lot of this will be about the BBC in Wales, but it will also touch on things like Doctor Who. And I know the Doctor Who experience was sort of very popular when it was in Cardiff. So that might be worth a visit if you've got any sci-fi fans among you. With the National Museum Cardiff also, that's going to be revamped. There is a design study that's working on it now, and upgrades to that. You know, it's a very old building. It's just coming up to 100 years old, and it needs a lot of revamping. If you've been there recently, particularly with people who need the lift, then sometimes the lifts are out of use and it can be a pain. And our wheelchair access there has been pretty abysmal, to be fair. And that will have, there's a new entrance ramp going to be put up. That should be opening later on this year. So access should be a hell of a lot better to Cardiff. In the National Wool Museum, after COVID, we have an exhibition of hope. That was contributed to by a lot of the public, sort of knitting little squares. It's very beautiful, and it's going to be an amalgamation of that. But COVID stories, really, just how people have got through. That is going to open later on this year. And the St Fagans National Museum of History currently is having a pub built. So visitors will be able to come in and actually have a pint in a very old Cardiff pub. So those are some things that we hope you'll be looking forward to. As I say, we are very behind cadw in that we, you know, our offering for you is very bad at the moment in terms of giving you itineraries, etc. But we are going to update our website with a specific groups area so that you can go on. We'll update that regularly with our new things. We're also, and again, we're so behind cadw, I can't believe it. We're going to, we've sort of started a very short newsletter, but just to update you on anything that's coming up and really to keep in touch with you more. So do get in touch with me if you'd like to be on that. And on that note, I will hand over to Luke from the National Trust.
Diolch, Jenny. Can I just check, can you all hear me? I can see Claire. Can you give a thumbs up if that? Are we okay?
Yeah, you might need to get as close as you
It's
can
working.
to the mic.
You can hear me. Good.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Hang on. I have an alternative solution. Is that better?
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay. Bore da pawb. Good morning, everyone. So just a couple of slides from us, the National Trust. So I'll give a sort of a high-level overview of what we've got here in National Trust Cymru, and my colleague Laura will sort of be able to give a bit more insight to, I suppose, a broader UK picture, and also what's coming in terms of the travel trade and what we're looking to build going forward. So here in Wales, I mean, very similar to Sheila and Jenny, we huge changes over the course of the last year with the closures and the reopenings. Where we are today, we're expecting to be able to open all of our indoor F&B and our indoor sites starting from the 17th of May. That's in addition to everything that's currently open in terms of our outdoor spaces and our coast and countryside sites. So across Wales, it's around about sort of 30 main sort of places that sort of tell the story of the people of Wales, the history, the culture, the landscape. There will be changes that will come. So some places are going to open in a different way. So some we're still very much working through. Some of you will know Aberconway House in Conway. That's one that we're really looking at how we open that in partnership with the community to adapt from the museum it has been to be more of a different sort of facility and engagement offer. Other places we are still struggling to be able to open the whole spaces, such as the inside Erthig near Wrexham, due to social distancing. So as and when that changes, we'll be able to open more. And elsewhere, we've got places like Plasnowith that 1 week before lockdown was due to start a £6 million rewire and resurfacing, which then naturally got paused, and we're just starting to re-gear that piece of work up. But again, the gardens, the outside spaces, as with Erthig, those all remain open. With the process that we now have in place, some of you will be familiar with the public booking system that we've got, which we essentially sort of built last April, May, before we were able to reopen for the first time. But it's very much a Heath Robinson system held together with bits of string and bits of sellotape behind the scenes. And what that means is for any coach bookings, those still need to be made directly with the properties rather than through the system. The way that we're operating our sites is each has a kind of COVID capacity based on the latest guidance, where we know we can operate in a safe manner and avoid pinch points. And we break down our kind of admissions into half-hour slots. So what we need to do with coach bookings is be able to kind of identify what time slot they're coming into, and then be able to adapt the bookings that we make available to the public. There will be, as always with travel trade inquiries, capacity questions and logistical questions around the number of coaches we can have at any particular place. So some properties will be able to operate on a model based on their car parking capacity of a coach per morning or coach per afternoon. Others can do far more. Our most popular sites for coaches remain Bodmin Garden in North Wales, just off the A55. Powys Garden, which you can see on the top here, on the routes into mid Wales, and then down on the doorstep of St Flagons that Jenny mentioned, Dyffryn Gardens, which is the image at the bottom, a site that we took on just in the last sort of 8 years, I think, was when we started at Dyffryn. So, I mean, huge outdoor spaces, and that has always been one of the big drivers for our coach business. But it's worth remembering other places as well when you're looking at those routes in and out of Wales. Tredegar House, just outside Newport. We've got Chirk Castle just outside Oswestry as well. As mentioned, Erthig just outside Wrexham on the way into Wales, just off from the A55. Once visitors are on site, I mean, they will notice some changes until regulations sort of change. So I think as Shona and Jenny mentioned, quite often there's more restrictions around one-way systems. We're also asking that when groups arrive, that they sort of separate out into their kind of their traveller bubble, as it were, and try to fragment to make sure that they're able to sort of proceed around the site without causing pinch points in F&B outlets or at sort of key aspects of the site. But generally, we found through the pilots we did with coach groups returning last year that works effectively. But one of the things we've adapted is just the information that we're sharing back to our partners in the travel trade around essentially the distinctive information that you might need as a tour operator to confirm the booking and invoicing arrangements, but what a courier or a guide might need to be able to brief the group on the day, or what the coach driver needs in terms of the practical logistics of coach parking. So we're just looking at improvements that we can make to ensure that all of the people get the right information that helps them have the best visit that they can. So for any inquiries, contact details are on our website at nationaltrust.org.uk, and you'll be able to contact property teams directly there to inquire about provisional bookings for dates that you've got coming up. I'm happy to field any wider questions you've got, and if you've got particular special interests or questions you've got particular groups, then we're happy to talk with you. And I can either try and answer those or funnel those back out to the property teams. So I think what I'll do is I'll hand over to Laura now, who can talk a bit more about some of the wider thinking and work with the travel trade.
Excellent, thank you, Luke. So I work centrally at the National Trust from our head office, and I work to develop and improve the visitor experience across the whole of the National Trust. So I suppose what I'm going to talk to you today about is actually not much in the way of giving information, but more of an asking for information and a bit of an opening of a conversation. We don't have huge amounts of time, so it's more please get in touch with me using my email address than anything else. Obviously, we're a national organisation, so I just wanted to flag up that what Luke outlined for Wales is also very true for the rest of England as well, for England as well. We've got over 120 of our houses opening across the country next week, and also things like our gardens, so places like Stourhead are open as well for coach tours. So do have a look and get in touch with the individual properties if you're interested in booking any of them. We are really aware that, I suppose like National Museums of Wales, we're very behind places like cadw in terms of the way that we can work with coach operators, and we really want to change that. So part of the work that I'm doing in terms of developing our visitor journey and experience is wanting to look at how we can work more closely with you to develop that experience. So to help you find out information more easily, to help you make bookings more easily, and to work with you to develop special offers for coach operators. So maybe in terms of discounts and admissions, but also thinking more widely about what you can experience or your groups could experience at our places. So it's really a kind of opening of a conversation and an asking, please do get in touch. I really want to hear from you. If I can get any contact details from people from this session, then, and you're happy for me to get in touch with you, then I'll also be doing that if that's okay. But I just want to start talking to people and see where we can get and how we can get a better experience for everyone. So that's more my pitch.
My name is William Greenwood, and I'm the manager of Bodmin Garden here. Bodmin Garden is one of the best gardens in the whole of the UK and in one of the top 10 worldwide. We've got colour, scent and sound on offer all year round. We've got the winter garden, snowdrops, daffodils, bluebells, magnolias, camellias, rhododendrons, the wonderful laburnum arch, super wisteria, water lilies, and as we go back into the autumn, some stunning autumn colour with the aces and the Acer Glade. The glorious Bodmin laburnum arch, one of the wonders of the horticultural world. It's still got a few weeks to go, but in 2 weeks' time, this will be a cascade of glorious yellow. When the COVID restrictions are over, we'll be delighted to see you and your group back here again with us at London. We'll do all we possibly can to make sure that you and everybody has a really good time. To make a booking, just send us an email or give us a call. We'll work with you to make sure you and your groups have a really wonderful experience. Thank you all very much indeed. We look forward to seeing you back here at Bottom of the Garden again soon.
Well, Brador, everybody, and didn't Bodmin Garden look stunning in the film? I can't wait to go and see the Laverna March in about a month's time. So I'm Judith, I work with Claire, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about some of the new products that will be opening in Wales very shortly. So first of all is Zipworld Tower. You may be familiar with the Zipworld family of attractions in Bethesda, Blaenau Ffestiniog and Betws y Coed in North Wales. And they've just opened a new site in South Wales, Zipworld Tower, and it's located at the Tower Colliery near Hirwaun and ex-coal mine. Phoenix is the fastest zip line in the world, and there are 2 zones of 4 lines. Now, the One Show featured this on the day it opened with the Welsh BBC drum-playing weatherman, and you may still be able to see that film on iPlayer. They're also planning to open the Tower Coaster towards the end of May. Now, this will dip and weave around the colliery, and the great thing is that the driver governs the speed, so you can go as quickly or as slowly as you like. You also get 2 for the price of 1, as you get 2 goes on the coaster. So for both attractions, visitors can enjoy views of the Frigos Mountains, but that's as long as you keep your eyes open, of course. So the National Trails in Wales launched a new travel trade toolkit on the 27th of April. As you can see, it was a busy week in Wales that week. The walking paths include the Wales Coast Path, which also incorporates the Pembrokeshire Coast Path and Glyndwr's Way. Now, it's a really useful document that includes walking itineraries, coach parking, and places to eat and drink, and some very interesting did you know facts too. The Hilton Garden Inn is the first Hilton hotel to open in North Wales, and it will have 106 rooms. Now, it's going to be the latest addition to Adventure Park Snowdonia, which you may know as its former name of Surf Snowdonia. It's located at Dolgarrog in the Conwy Valley, and that's halfway between Llandudno and Betws y Coed. So Llys-y-Fran is a major development opening in Pembrokeshire towards late spring. It's roughly right in the middle of the county, or 11 miles northeast of Haverfordwest. It's part of the Welsh Water family of attractions, and it includes a centre for water and land-based sports, but also nature trails, and very importantly, cafe and toilets. So again, thinking of itinerary ideas, combining Llys-y-Fran with the National War Museum, not too far away, would be a great idea. The Hensol Distillery is part of the group that owns the Vale Resorts. It's a hotel, spa and golf course close to Cardiff. And a new distillery will open later this year. As well as looking around this distillery, there's also the option for visitors to distill their own gin. It's due to open towards the beginning of September. And again, thinking to combining other attractions in the area, it's not too far from Dyffryn Gardens and also St Fagans, which we've spoken about. Talking of distilleries, Penderyn is opening a new distillery in Llandudno towards the end of May, with tours starting at the beginning of June, which will be a great new attraction for Llandudno. And also Aber Falls, which is about 20 minutes away, is also opening a new visitor centre about the same time. And their new whisky has just gone on sale. So Shuna spoke to us earlier about the cadw monuments, and she gave a little bit of a hint of Carnarvon. There's a lot of work happening there. Carnarvon Castle is a site with UNESCO World Heritage status. Now the King's Gate will become an accessible visitor centre, and a lift will take visitors to the new roof deck, which is great, not only for those who have mobility issues, but for people like me who aren't that keen on spiral staircases. Visitors will also enjoy great views over the town of Carnarvon. Now, it's obviously worth bearing in mind it's not due to open until at least late 2022, but it's really important for you to be aware of future itinerary planning. So where can you get more information? We can't, unfortunately, do the presentations on a weekly basis. Well, our travel trade website is a really good one-stop shop to get most of the up-to-date information about what is happening. And we also urge you to sign up to our e-newsletters, and there's a link to the newsletters on our homepage, and also follow us on Twitter and Facebook. I'm sure that you are aware that we are unable to automatically sign you up to the newsletter as you've attended the webinar today due to UK GDPR rules. But the website, as well as that, the website also provides the latest COVID guidelines for coaches and groups, and there's a link on our homepage too. As well as that, we have product listings, we have fact sheets, themed itineraries, coach parking, and downloadable brochures. So the website also provides ideas how to put tours together in Wales, and Robert obviously spoke a little bit earlier about how great it is to come to Wales. It's not too far away from the major urban centres and using less fuel. But I think the other really important thing, and we try to bring them over in our itineraries, is that you don't have to travel very far in Wales to have a completely different experience. So one, within an hour, you can be within the Snowdonia National Park on the mountain passes, and within an hour, be in a historic castle, say Carnarvon Castle, or by the coast as well. So you don't have to travel very far, and which can limit the travelling time on the coach too, which is always a good idea. So one of our new initiatives is the Wales Way, our family of 3 national touring routes. We've got the Cambrian Way that goes north to south along what you may know as the A470 road, the Coastal Way which skirts the west of Wales, and also the North Wales Way, which really champions the UNESCO World Heritage castles and perhaps some of the smaller castles such as Rhuddlan as well. This hopefully, the itineraries that we've put together, hopefully will help you think about the different places to go, perhaps a little bit off the beaten track. As is what Claire mentioned earlier, we are expecting to be busy around the coast this summer. But there's often capacity inland as well as the cities that we've spoken about earlier, such as Cardiff, Newport and Swansea, and there's plenty to do there too. So what other resources have we got available? The website is constantly developing, and we are working with the Wales Official Tour Guides Association. So it's great that so many of you have joined us today on the webinars. We're putting some new itineraries together. I was particularly pleased with some of the itineraries for coach operators. The other really good thing is that you can obtain free images on our asset library. Now there is the extra website assets.wales.com, but again there's links from our travel trade website. So to get the images, you do need to register on the site, but then you can download images to feature in your websites and brochures and other marketing material. Now it's a free service that we offer, but we just ask that you credit the images accordingly.
Thanks very much, Judith. So just to finish, I mean, hopefully we know that we've imparted, I think, a lot of information, but hopefully we've been able to clarify things for you to help you run successful trips to Wales this summer, and to show how we're collaborating across the industry. And you know, the travel trade and the coach sector continues to be a really important part of our plans. So we're developing a bespoke travel trade recovery plan that will take us as a bridge back to our longer term strategy, and it'll be sort of following these 8 key themes. But just to finish, some useful contact details. As I mentioned, the presentation will be available through the CTA website, and we'd just like to say diolch yn fawr. Thank you very much for your attention this morning.
Okay, thanks very much for that. Great presentations. It's certainly kept us all interested and provided an awful lot of information and huge enthusiasm, I'm sure, for the Welsh product. Now, is there any questions from anybody out there that they'd like to ask? No, not at all. Well, I've got, as usual, I've got 1 or 2 pre-prepared questions. Surprise, surprise. Now, understandably today, you focused on the short term, but what opportunities do you see for coach tourism to Wales in 2022 and beyond?
Well, I think obviously COVID has presented a lot of challenges. I think that's been explained quite very clearly from the attractions perspective. But obviously, as restrictions are removed and things are released a bit more, we do expect capacity in the attractions and other venues to improve considerably, and to see more interest in attracting coach groups in future. Some of the things that we've mentioned, we think provide opportunities to perhaps extend the season and find different ways of exploring Wales. So the Wales Way, which Judith explained about, but also we're really keen to try and use that and other opportunities to try and increase the spread of business around Wales. But also we know coach operators naturally come sort of throughout the year, but we want to encourage more off-season visits. So we're keen to work together with the industry to do that.
Okay, that's.
I can see there are actually some questions popping up in the chat, Robert, if you're able to see some of those.
Okay. I can't see them. Can you see them, Claire?
Yeah, I can see them. So that's fine. So there's one there from Hayley from Coach Firm based in Lancashire regarding hotels in Tenby wanting to take coach groups. Yeah, there are some in that area. It is one of the more challenging areas. We'll be honest that there isn't such a stock as in perhaps other areas, but there are some developments in the location. And Hayley, I think what we'll do is perhaps follow up with you directly and see what we can help you with in that area, and put you in touch with the local destination management or organisation who should also be able to help. So I think that's the only actual question we've got. The others are comments, which is great.
Okay. Can I just ask one more question then? I mean, you talked about the resources for operators, but what consumer-facing activities and promotions are you doing this year? I mean, for example, is there any TV advertising, or are you involved with any PR which might help the coach industry?
Yeah, absolutely. So all of our messaging this year, and hopefully many of you on the call will have seen already that we've got a campaign that we started running last year in the pandemic called ADDO, and ADDO, it's spelled ADDO, is the Welsh word for to promise. And we're really inviting everybody that's coming into Wales to travel around to make their own pledge to do the little things that will make a big difference, to look after yourselves, to look after Wales, and to look after communities. So you can go online and pledge yourselves the promise. So we'll paste actually in the chat a link to the website. There's also assets that you can use. So we're going to be doing TV advertising. In fact, it's starting beyond video on demand. We'll be doing some TV advertising next week. We've also got PR that will be going out throughout. We've been very successful actually in securing quite a lot of positive coverage, and that will be continuing, as well as all of our activities on digital channels. But there's an asset bank as well, so we'll follow up with the grid and with some links, and put that onto the web page along with the presentation, so that people can get hold of that. I can see there's another question in the chat, one from Claire Duffield, regarding the attractions and trains. Yeah, this is probably proving a little bit of an issue, that some of the smaller privately run railways have been taking a little bit of time to get themselves set up, and at the moment, unfortunately, the Vale of Rheidol is one of the ones that currently isn't operational, but others are running. So for example, the Welsh School and Llanfair Railway in Mid Wales is another lovely railway, and they are starting to run, as are some of the ones in North Wales. So on the grid, we'll share that information in detail with you and with everybody. And if you do have some further issues, we'll follow up with that. But also we are in touch with the Vale of Rheidol Railway, and we're sort of trying to help them get themselves up and running for groups as soon as possible.
Okay, just one final question, if there's nothing else. I mean, can you just remind everybody how they can keep up to date on Wales guidance changes and attractions reopening?
Yeah, so one of the main things is to go to our website, which is traveltrade.visitwales.com. On there, we've got a page that's dedicated really to information about the guidance, all of the latest guidance. I can see a related question around that, about the 3-week advance booking system. Oh, sorry, I think that must be that's one, I think, for our attractions. So I don't know if the attractions want to chip into that one, but yeah, just remind you that come to the website, and also through there you can request details of the reopening grid that we'll also be sharing, and that will be updated constantly. Okay. So
can I say on the 3 weeks, we desperately want to get back to the pre-COVID situation where people could just stroll in. So yeah, it is just for COVID at the moment, and hopefully we will be able to lift those kinds of restrictions and the booking in advance soon.
I think from I suppose the National Trust perspective on it, I mean, the challenge, well, the benefit we have of coaches pre-booking is that we're able to confirm sort of that we can welcome you and be ready for you, because that will play out into various kind of logistical things behind the scenes. In a way, kind of the worst case scenario with coaches that arrive that aren't pre-booked is you end up with a couple of large coaches worth however many tens of thousands of pounds they are, trying to navigate around a small car park alongside a lot of pedestrians. So it's that ability to be ready for you, to give the best experience you can, and then in return be able to offer the discounted prices.
From a cadw point of view, the reason I've mentioned the 3 weeks in advance booking is so that we're able to allocate the tickets to trade before they go on sale to the general public. As Jenny said, we're hoping in the future we'll be able to revert to not having to have everything pre-booked before we can accept. Sorry, I've lost my train of thought there. Yeah, so hopefully we will be able to resort back to how we were operating pre-COVID. But for the moment, we do need to pre-book everything. and the time scale is to ensure that the tickets are allocated to trade before general sale. Thank you.
Okay.
Very much, Gina.
Okay. I think that's about it, isn't it?
Yeah,
all the questions?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks
Well,
very much.
just thanks everybody for attending today, and thanks in particular to Claire and everybody at Visit Wales for taking an interest in our industry and providing such a range of useful information, facts, figures, and help. I'm sure everybody's got so much more enthusiasm now about bringing coaches to Wales, and I'm sure that 2021 will be a hugely successful time for everybody. So with that note, I'll sign off now and thank you all again for attending. Watch the CTA website for details of similar future events. Thanks again.